All right, friends. What a joy to come to you again this very day across the globe. Those of you in Africa, I'm sure we just few minutes different. Those of you in Nigeria, those of you in South Africa. And for those of you who be connecting from the US, I'm sure by now your time is said that you can still connect with us. Today is a special day, and we thank God for you being able to connect. And for some time, we've been looking at contending with horses. And it is taken from what God told Jeremiah, that if you have raised with men and they have wearied you, then how can you contend with horses? In other words, God expects us to have the capacity, to have the strength, to be able to overcome any challenge that is common to man. We have no excuse. Others have walked this path before, and so we can be. And for some time, we've been looking at different aspects of challenges, and we've had experiences from people. And this evening is not going to be anything lesser. It's even going to be greater, mightier, to the glory of God. And so for those of you who have just connected, God richly bless you. I would hope that you can connect with your questions. You can send in your questions ahead of time or comments ahead of time. But you can also just put it on Facebook, and our guests will be willing to deal with it. I'm so happy to have you, and I pray that this session will bring total transformation as these great guests of ours share their true life experience. This is not just book issue. This is not something they've just read, but we're talking about something they have experienced. They've gone through themselves, experiences of their own life that they want to share with you. And we have with us, we are so privileged. We have with us great men and women of God. And then those of our friends who are also connecting with Zoom. Now, for just about 2-3 minutes, I want, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, just give you a background of what we are doing. For some time, we've been looking at, as I've indicated, contending with horses. And we have studied the horse. We've looked at, even though it is an animal, but God asks us to contend with it. In other words, God has certain useful traits in that animal that we can learn from. And many a times God uses various creations, the things that He's made, to speak to us. So he tells us that we should go to the serpent and we should go to the ants and learn of his ways. He said that we should be as wise as serpents. And there's so many things, as gentle as a dove. And we have studied the horse, and we've learned that the horse is such a survivor. It's an animal that can survive because of the traits that we've shared over time. And we do not intend to go over and over in order not to bore you with so much repetition. And so today, we have studied up to the point where we said that our footprints, the things that we go through in life, all becomes footprints like the horse, that when the horse moves to a particular place, it is able to even come back when you blindfold it, because it's able to trace its footprint. We've also studied that the horse has that capacity to smell, to discern, to know whether it's a prey or is meat for it, whether it is a predator that is coming, whether it is a prey that is also out there. We have also noted that the horse, because of its health capacity, will be able to stand every challenge that comes. So God has raised the bar and has told us that we will not have any excuse if you are not able to face the challenges common to men. So if you are thinking of giving up, if you are thinking of committing suicide because you think that your case is horrible, if you think that you've tried, people have tried to stampede you, I'm sure that you will learn from our guests that it's not common. I mean, it's not different from, it's not unique to you alone. Many more people have gone through these things that will be shared. You are not the only person who have been disappointed, who have had a setback. You are not the only person who is trying to get to the top, but there are hindrances. So when we look at challenges, we are looking at both negative and then even things that turns up to be much more motivating. And so I wouldn't waste too much of your time. I don't want to take too much. I want to give our guests more time so that you can interact with them. I've taken 5 minutes of your time. The next 1 hour or so we'll have with our special guest. And I have with us a woman of God, a woman in her own right. She is a minister. She's in partnership with the husband. So she's a minister. The husband is an apostle and area head. So she obviously, if the two are one, then she's also an apostle of the Lord Jesus Christ. And you see, it's not only about her spiritual life, but when it comes to academia, she's played a role. She's done her part. When it comes to working for society, she's also played a role. She's a multi-skilled, multi-talented lady. And that is why I want you to tap all that you can get from her. She currently is the country director for Compassion International Ghana. So she's here with lots of compassion. And I believe that she would minister out of compassion. So we have with us Mrs. Gifty Dansua Appiah. That's that beautiful lady. Mommy, you're welcome. And good
Thank
to
you
have
very
you.
much.
Great,
Thank
great,
you.
good to have you. Good to have you. So here's a woman who is in ministry, who is she's still working and she's still managing a home. She's married, one husband with kids, managing all this. And some of us have just one child. Some of us have not even married, are not married yet, and still we're saying that we don't have time, we don't have time. We have no excuse. May the life of our sister speak to us. Amen. So once again, Mrs. Gifty Dansua Appiah, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right. There's a gentleman that has been a friend, a brother. I was in the same department with, and I was amazed when this week I called him and then he couldn't pick his phone. And then when he got back to me, he told me that, I was having my devotion. That is why I couldn't pick the phone. I said, hey, Prof, a whole vice chancellor, early in the morning, you have time with all your busy schedule to wait upon God. And some young people claim they don't even have time. And that was an exciting experience that I had with him at a time that most of us will be out there. This man who, when it comes to academia, has achieved. When it comes to hard work, I know him very well as a very hard-working person. And then a solid Christian who has time for God, has time for everything, a balanced person. And he's no other person but my own friend and senior brother, who currently is a vice chancellor for the University for Development Studies, one of the great universities there. I lectured there. He's the vice chancellor who has so many university campuses in various regions. So he's a big man. He's a global vice chancellor in the person of Professor Gabriel Ayum Teye. Prof, you are most welcome.
Thank you.
And
thank you, Apostle.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
All right. So friends on Facebook and all the other social media platforms, you know the personalities we are dealing with who will be sharing their stories with us. And so do well to let us have your questions. Do well to let us have the issues that you want us to deal with ahead of time so that they could give us solid insight to what God wants to do. Now, please listen carefully. These precious children of God are going to share true life stories, true experiences with you. And so you'll be able to identify with, and I want you to make the best of them while they're available. We cannot always get them. So take all the things that you can take from them today. So to set the ball rolling, it is said that ladies first. So we'll take the thoughts, the experience of our dear sister, Mrs. Gifty Dansua Appiah, to share with us her true life story, her experiences, what lessons she's learned over the period, what challenges possibly she's faced. And if she has to say all this, she needs a whole day, but we're just giving us a few minutes so that she would open up and then we can also interact with her. So, Madam, can we have you share your heart with us?
All right. Thank you so very much, Apostle. Apostle has been a brother, a friend for a very long time. And so I am really privileged and humbled to have been invited to be on his program. I really feel so very humbled, especially seeing the caliber of people on the call, being here together with Prof, the Vice Chancellor of UDS. I mean, UDS is a university that I really respect because I have had opportunity to interact and actually work with some of the products. And I am happy to say that by the grace of God, UDS is churning out some great minds and great personalities for this country. And so, Prof, it's a privilege and a humbling experience to be with you here today. Yeah, so contending with horses, and like Apostle rightly said, it's simply not possible for me to be able to share all experiences, but I will try and do my best within the short space of time that I have been given. And so he has already mentioned my name. My name is Gifty Appiah. I'm the National Director for Compassion International in Ghana, and I'm married to Apostle Samuel Appiah. Together we are blessed with so many children, both biological and non-biological. Our firstborn is 25 years old, and so it's been a long journey, but through it all, God has been good. Every time I look at my profile I look at my profile, I tell myself that you are a person with so many full-time jobs. I mean, I am a wife, that's a full-time job. I am a mother of three young men and a lovely lady, and so many other children that the Lord has blessed us with. And that is also in itself a full-time job. I serve as a national director, obviously, it's a full-time job. As a wife of an apostle, of an area head, you are also Fumami, so that's also another full-time job. I can go on counting. And so that's kind of a life. And I wanted this evening to, with this opportunity, this evening, this afternoon, this morning, depending on where you are listening to us from, I wanted to use the opportunity to share a little bit about how we've been able to maneuver, and to manage our way through all of this. I mean, you and I will still will agree with me that particularly in this part of the world, I mean, Ghana and Africa, is still a very masculine society. Indeed, I mean, the world is still a very masculine society. And so if you are a woman and by the grace of God, you are climbing through, whether it be in the spiritual space or whether it be in the physical space, definitely that does not come on a silver platter. It does come with a number of challenges, and you need a lot of skills to be able to maneuver, to go through all of those challenges. And so let me begin by sharing with us how that has been at the workplace. It's been a lot of learning. And God through his own grace and mercy taught me a number of things. Like Apostle said, there isn't anything that we're going to share here. We may find them in books, but I mean, there isn't anything I'm going to share here that I've read from a book or I'm picking from a book, but I'm sharing my own personal experiences and opinions on issues and how that has enabled me to maneuver through life. And so at the workplace, I have learned a few things, that enables you to to do that. So in the workplace, there were two main challenges that I was faced with. And let me share with you a little bit. I have worked in other organizations for a little bit. I've worked with World Vision. I've worked with UN. I've worked on a UN project. I've worked on a UN project. I've worked with World Vision, and I've worked with Christian Aid, and now I'm working with Compassion. And so that's quite a long time. My professional experience spans over more than 2 decades, you know, close to 5 years. I've been working in the corporate world, and it's not been easy. I have two main things that I've had to deal with in terms of challenge. One, being a and then two, age, because you know I started when I was very young, and then those days you cannot come into a leadership position until you attain a certain age. But we started very early, and so I had those things to contend with, and I think there were certain things that helped me to overcome that. I think the first thing I'll talk about, it's always the grace of God. Grace of God and the mercy of God. And I cannot belabor the point. Because I have had situations that were so difficult. You have challenges at the workplace, and I've had audible encounters with God where God has told me specifically that my grace is sufficient for you audibly. And so I know that for me, it has been the grace of God all through. And that's why I mentioned that first and foremost. I cannot imagine how I would be able to maneuver my way through challenges without the grace of God, because He Himself has told me that it is purely by His grace. And so I wanted to mention that first and foremost. And then secondly, it's also about hard work. Hard work, and that comes with a lot of sacrifice. You know, so you are a mother, you are a wife, you are this, you know, and doing all of these things, you know, and I'm somebody who would love to do things with excellence and with perfection. One of the principles I have in life is that if you are going to do it, then do it well. If you not do it well, then don't do it. You know, so you want to handle each of these areas very, very well. And so that comes with hard work and then a lot of sacrifice. Your life cannot be like everybody else. So you find people who are spending all of their time on phone, people who are spending all of their time, you know, doing things that will not earn anything, but you cannot afford to do that. You really need to have your life so structured, you know, so at every point in time, you know your goal, you know where it is that you want to go, you set your priorities and you pursue them. And for me, when you talk about time management for me is not when, okay, it is 8 o'clock and so I must go to bed. My time management is, well, there's this task to be done. And until it is done, you know, you can't say it is 8, so you are going to bed. So if that calls for you doing an all night to get something done, then that has to be done. You know, so those are the things that I'm talking about, that it comes with a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice. One of the things that God also taught me to do, I mean, early in my life, or in my career and in my progression, is the skill of delegation and building people around you. I think personally, by my nature, initially I thought that there are certain things that I'm the only one that can do them. There isn't anyone who can do it the way I would do it. So I really had a lot of struggle. I'll go to work, I'll come back, I have to get the food down, I have to get the cleaning done. I need to do everything by myself. At the workplace, there's a budget to be done and you need to sit down, do it by yourself. And there's a proposal to be written, you need to sit down, do it by yourself, and all of that. And along the line, God really taught me, my daughter, if you are going to be able to progress, you need to learn the skill of first and foremost building leaders around you, and also being able to. And that has really been very helpful. And so I always would love to identify people who are trainable, people who are teachable, and I surround myself with those people. And what I do is I invest a lot of time to train them. So it could be domestic, it could be at home, or it could be at the workplace. And so you find me always with all these young people around me, and all I'm doing is I'm building in them resilience. I'm building in them, I'm developing them so that if you like, I'm replicating myself in them, so they will be able to, I'll be able to delegate to them. So at home, I have my kids at home. I have people who are supporting, and I really take my time to invest in them, to teach them how to do things the way I want things to be done, the way things ought to be done. I do that. And very soon, when they have grasped the skill, then I'm able to go on to something else, and they are able to do things that I used to do, and that frees a lot of time. That gives me a lot of margin to be able to do other things. And so I'm able to still invest a lot of time in my spiritual life. One of the things that has also helped me is I don't segregate my life. There are people who say, this is my secular job, and this is my spiritual life. Maybe one of the things that has helped me, for majority of my professional life, majority of the time I've worked with Christian organizations. But even when I have worked with organizations that are not Christian, what I have done is that it has been an extension of my spiritual life. So I do not segregate. And so I know that when I'm going to work, I'm serving God. When I come home, I'm serving God. When I'm in church, I'm serving God. And so there's a continuum, and as I build margin through those things, I'm able to actually apply in my life, able to build margin and be able to kind of apportion time and energy and value in all of these places. Another thing that I think has also been of great support to me is that building leaders around you, apart from learning the skill of delegation, that could be debatable, but like I said, I'm sharing with you my what has worked for me. I have also surrounded myself with a lot of support systems. Okay, so there's support systems. I have support in my husband, and this is how I do it. So my husband is what should I call it? He's such a good person, and he's actually he's not my assistant, but he is me. He is me. So whatever, my husband knows everything about my work, from A to Z, to the extent that even the people at my work, when I'm talking about anything, I come home and I'm talking about something, and he will be like, okay, so who are you talking about? I mentioned the name and he knows the person. So I have actually made him a part of my life, my life. So it's not like I go to work and, work is work, and I come home and he's not part of it. He's right in the middle of it. And so he's able to support me when there's a challenge, when I have to do longer hours. He knows that this coming week you're going to do longer hours. He knows that it is Monday and she is busy, because on Mondays this is how schedule is. He's right in the middle of it. And I think that has been a great support. And so I don't have to be struggling, explaining to him and, trying to get him. He knows it. We are in it together, whether it's, and just like also the ministry. So it's really both ways, and it's been amazing. My parents, my parents have also been a great support. When my kids were growing up, my mom, some of them needed to live with them at a certain time, especially when we were transferred to other places where maybe education and all of that. We have our parents who are there, to take care of them. And so that support system. And I've also had, I told you at the beginning, I have several children. And when I say I have several children, what other people will call house helps, I don't really call them house help. They are part of their family and they support us. So you've gone to work, you haven't come, the kids have to be picked from school. There's always somebody that can pick them from school. When they come back home, there's always somebody at home who can support them if it's homework, if it's food. So that kind of support system, I don't have time to really go into them, but just say, you know, to be able to do all of these things, you need a lot of support system. You also need to build yourself up. Okay, I mean, the world in which we are today, you cannot depend on the knowledge that you had even 5 years ago. You can't. So it is something that you're always learning. And please, in a professional environment, don't always depend on your organization taking you to school. I served in an organization where I worked there for 17 years. And I can say that there is none of the courses, you know, the courses that I did to build myself that was paid by the organization. There are a lot of online courses, and many organizations have a lot of online courses, and I would dedicate time. And many of the certificates I have, there were things I did online. And it is, I'm not waiting for somebody to come and tell me, hey, you have to do this job, you have to do this course, you have to do that. I am able to read by the grace of God. I am able to read where the organization is going, where the space, you know, the space in which you're operating, where they are going, you know, the tomorrow of the workplace. And I sit down and I look at what are the courses in that space, and I go for them. And I do them. So by the time the organization is ready to go there, Gifty has already built herself up. I remember there was a time people were doing all kinds of courses. They were traveling to the Philippines, all of that. I never got opportunity to be selected to travel, to make any of those travels. But once I remained in Ghana, I was doing my online courses quietly and getting all the certificates. So they will go and come back. And when they come back, you know, when they come back from those courses, they will gather us and kind of give us a training or something like that. And as they are giving us the training, I am ahead of them. So people have gone for training outside, but I'm sitting here in Ghana and I'm ahead of them. So there's anything to be done, they say, oh, Gifty, do it, Gifty, do that. And that really helped in my career, you know, my career progression. Build yourself, be competent at what you do. I mean, to the extent that there is no shadow of doubt, if you are given an assignment, you're given a project, you're given a promotion, nobody is able to contend with it because it's time to speak. I remember in my workplace, my former workplace, people would say there were certain things that we're doing, like LEAP. LEAP is learning through evaluation, accountability, and planning. And I built myself so much that when I stand to speak, people will say, as for Gifty, she is equal to LEAP, you know, to that extent. I mean, all by the grace of God, all by the grace of. But all I'm saying is that please build your competence, okay? Don't, you know, sometimes women would want to fight over certain things, but look, if you have built your competence, nobody, when it is time for somebody to be looked out for, they cannot bypass you, because when they bypass you, there's nobody else.
Yeah.
Okay? I want to encourage you, do that. Christians think that, you know, it's so unfortunate, but sometimes Christians think that because you are a Christian, you should be mediocre. No. I have a, what do I call? I have a mantra at the workplace. Me, I have a zero tolerance for mediocrity.
Zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance for mediocrity. You know, because when you are a Christian, our God and our Savior will tell us, if you are doing the thing, go all out for it. So build yourself, build your competence. And sometimes we want to give a lot of excuses. And I'm taking my child to weighing. My child is sick and I'm doing that. And my child, you know, the workplace, people, they are looking for money. They're looking for results. So if you are going to, you know, give all of these excuses every day and every time, they're going to bypass you and go for somebody else. That does not mean that you need to neglect your home. That's not what I'm saying. And that's why I've told you all those things. Build people around you who can support, get support systems who can do that, so that when it is time for you to be in that meeting, do a presentation. It is not that time that you say that you are taking your child to this place or you are doing that. Make sure that your plan is such that it is resilient and it is responding to the needs that come to your life. I mean, by the grace of God, I have done this without neglecting my home, without neglecting my family. I mean, without neglecting my kids, you know, and so it is doable. If you set your mind to do it, if you determine to do it, and you see, God will always also come in to support you. So let me say that. I think one of the other things that has also been of great help to me, I have been a great follower. I have not been a leader all the time. There were times that I was also a follower. There was a time that even today, I report to somebody. you know, and before I became a national director, I was reporting to people. Now I have been a great follower. Now, let me take a little bit of time to explain that. And this is what it means. So any person who is my leader, my boss, my manager, whatever, supervisor, whatever you want to call it, I study them prayerfully, and I get to know what their leadership style is and what it is that they want. And I've said under so many people, there are some of them, they give you assignment, go, they give you time, long range, they go do it and bring it. I do that. I give them their space. There are people, they give you assignment every minute. They want you to give them continuous updates of what you're doing every step of the way. This is how they want it. I do it. There are other people, they want you to come together with them and do the work with them. I do it. So you just get to know who your leader is and how they want things to be done. And prayerfully, you do, except it's a matter of integrity. Except it's a matter of they're asking you to sin against God. But if it is none of these things, and it doesn't go against Christian principles, it doesn't go against the word of God, and please support your leader. Support your leader, because the thing that you respect, the thing that you give reverence to, if it's the will of God, God will give you opportunity so to attain. My leaders, and I've told them, look, and I've worked under so many expatriate people. And you know, sometimes in the workplace, when people are serving under expatriates, I don't know whether it's envy or it's whatever, they go to them, and I mean, they don't want to support them. They don't. I have served on leadership teams, so I'm the only Ghanaian, and all the other people are expatriates. And it's like you're doing all the work because they don't understand the context. So you are the only one that understands the context. You're the only one that have the context and all. But you're not experts. They will always earn greater than you. My mind is on that. I have never even, that is not even a temptation for me, because I tell myself, hey, if you also want to be an expert, then leave your family and go and be an expert. But that is not a price that I'm willing to pay. So if somebody is willing to pay that price and come here and do it, then I need to support them. So I've always gone to my boss and I've told them, look, I'm here to support you. I mean, you don't know the terrain. I am here. If you need anything, come to me, and to the best of my ability. The people that I've worked under, every time they have to give me a reference, I mean, it's an awesome reference. Be a great follower. Don't compete with the leader. Don't backbite. Don't backstab them. Just be a great follower. Pray for them. Let them succeed. If they succeed, you are also succeed. There's a book on leading from the second chair. Leading from the second chair. I mean, written by John Maxwell. I mean, if you find it, you can read it. It's a great resource, and it will be a blessing. Uncompromising relationship with God. You know, as you are climbing the ladder, one of the things that easily gets attacked is your relationship with God. And so I was very, very happy when Apostle said, Prof said he was doing his devotion. You cannot compromise on your relationship with God. I have been in a place where somebody has actually come to me and said, how do you do it? You are in church when you are supposed to be in church all the time. You are praying when you're supposed to be praying. You are here when you're so. But we need other of your colleagues who don't even go to church on Sunday, but they don't come anywhere near you. And that is a secret. You can't do it by yourself. At least I know that by myself, I am nothing. I cannot even spell my name by myself. Everything that I have, everything that I've attained has been purely by the grace of God. So you cannot take that away from me. If I have to be in church, I have to be in church. I mean, and one of the things that I know people ask me, so how do you balance? How do you manage and all of that? It is planning. And so if I know, for example, as a minister's wife, there's going to be a minister's conference, I will work on my vacations, my leave, so that I have enough time to give some to ministers' conference, to give some to meetings, to give some to family time, and so on and so forth. So you just, and that's why you cannot afford to be, to be spending your life and your time all over the place. And so that is also great. I mean, that has also been very grateful. So I think I've spoken about delegation. I've spoken about support systems. I've spoken about building your competence and skills. I've spoken about hard work and diligence. Seeing a man diligent in his work, Bible says that before kings And that has been a testimony that I can personally testify to. And I've been a great follower, at least to the best of my ability. And if the references that I get from my supervisors and superiors, anything to go by, I think I've been a uncompromising relationship with God. You cannot compromise. You cannot say, I have work to do, so if I have to go to work, I mean, I can't go to church, to do it. Then I better sacrifice on something that is personal. I've spoken about building margin for yourself. You need to take care of yourself, especially as a woman. You need to take care of yourself. I mean, your hair is unkempt. You are over bloated. You are build that margin so that you can take care of your health. You can take care of your personal grooming and all of that. So build margin, learn to build margin. And then I've also spoken about, I think, uncompromising relationship with God. Maybe when the questions come, I'll be able to add this on. But I think let me.
Wow. This one is a whole it's 2 hours, even 3 hours. That's beautiful. I'm sure decent and his the way I'm looking at him holding his mouth, there are a lot of questions waiting to come to you. But before we open up for more engagement, as I indicated, we've listened to a woman who have faced all the challenges of life, a mainly masculine society, and now she's at the top, leading Compassion International, the whole of Ghana. Now I want to listen to another man. For those of you who have just joined, Mrs. Gifty, also Appiah, is the current Compassion International National Director. She's worked with World Vision before, so she's shared lots of experiences with us. Coming to also share his practical life experience, the lessons that he's learned in all aspects of life. And the amazing thing is that if you are young, you get something from them. If you are old, if you're a corporate leader, if you're a bank manager, if you're a parliamentarian, and they made it in such a way that they become useful to any aspect of our life. So without wasting much time, we have another guru, my own senior brother, Professor Gabriel Ayum, who is the current sitting Vice Chancellor for University for Development Studies. So if you want to develop, then you go to UDS. But of course, there's no university better than my UCC. There's no university better than my UCC. So Prof, let's hand over to you now.
Okay. Thank you, Apostle. Well, good evening to everyone, wherever you are. And I happened to get to know Apostle 24 years ago, 1996, when we met in Tamale to attend an interview to become staff members of the University for Development Studies. We were just fresh from school. He happened to be speaking some Chinese at that time. He came from China, and I was from KNUST. So we attended the interview, and then after some 2-3 months, somewhere in October the same year, we were all there as young lecturers in a very young department, where the staff who were there were all on study leave, and the two of us were there without a head and a tail. And we have our first batch of students who were to do their final year thesis. So somebody have to play the role. But then I may go back a bit and talk about how I got to UDS. Talking about life and challenges. Sometimes we have some popular saying that every misfortune is a blessing. I was trained in KNUST, first degree in agriculture, and the second degree I did meat science or meat technology, based on the advice of my then head of department. And that was one other thing which helped me in my career. I listened to my mentors and tried to do whatever they asked me to do, provided it's not an illegal thing. And I think it has helped me a lot. They have seen it and they tell you do this. So this head of department, one Professor Teye, advised me to do that course, which I never dreamt of. But then he whispered into my ear, if you do it, you are likely to become a staff of the university. I said, wow, I'll also become a lecturer. So I started. Unfortunately, by the time I finished the course in 95 to graduate in 96, somebody came to the headship of the department and said, no, I don't like you. I'm not taking you in this university. So I have to look for a job. And that sent me to Tamale. And the story has changed. I got to Tamale with Apostle. We started working. But then we couldn't even afford mobile phone. He came from China, but he wasn't having one either. So nobody has a mobile phone. We're not even having bicycles. We walk or we use, we were just anything, young people without any. And then he got married there. We had a wedding for him in Kumasi, so we knew each other. And then we started working. After some 2 years, he left us and went into the vineyard to go and fisherman. Now he's an apostle. I continue with the teaching, struggling to make headways. And within the first 5 years, I think I managed to impress my supervisors. Little did I know that people watch what you do, and they were taking records. So when there was a chance to nominate people for further studies, I was one of those people. In 2001, I had the opportunity to go to the United Kingdom to do my PhD for 4 years in the University of Bristol. So 2005, I came down from Bristol and just got back to Ghana. I became the head of department, but then he was gone. So I became the head of department and I did my first 3 years. I was supposed to do 6 years. After 3 years, somebody said, no, you have to become the dean. And they voted for me to become the dean of the faculty. And I was to do it for 6 years. But I did it for 4 years and somebody said, no, you have to become the Pro-VC. So he went to a form and nominated me and they voted for me. I became Pro-VC. Then I was a Pro-VC for 3 years. Pro-VC goes for 4 years in UDS maximum. After the 3 years, somebody said, no, you are the right person to become the vice chancellor, so I applied for it. And that's why I'm now a vice chancellor. So I have a life of never completing any of my schedules till I became a vice chancellor in 2015. Madam said a lot of things which are common to my experience. Working, I always try to do the best. And I don't compare what I'm doing to what somebody is not doing. If we are 2 or 3 or whatever number we are given a task to do, I don't care about whether my colleagues are doing it or not. I will do what I'm asked to do and do it to the best of my ability. And I think that's what people watch from the sideline. And then when it comes to these positions, they just say you are the best person to go. I was just doing it, and I always try to impress my bosses or supervisors to do it to the level they wanted it to. Something that they will not query me, but rather give some commendation. So, and also learn the ability to work with everybody. When I start working with you, I will study you. I'll know what you like and what you don't like. Even colleagues, if I realize that you don't like cracking jokes, I will never crack a joke with you. I only greet you and go by. And I'll be able to work with everybody. Even while I was studying in the UK, my supervisor, the last day before I left, he called and they said I was such a different human being. And I came here and worked with even difficult people in the department. I said, yes, I studied them. And if I know you will be annoyed with me, I will always try to avoid crashing with you to become annoyed. This helped me a lot to go through. And here I am today. I listen a lot to advice. If you make a comment on what I'm doing, I will evaluate it and then make sure if it is right, I continue to do. If it's wrong, I change and do the right thing. Now he was surprised that I was having a devotion. Well, when we were here, he was more of evangelical than me. So first, I'm not evangelical, but we are religious. Anyway, that's one thing that helped me. In a way, I got to know that you cannot do it by yourself. Somebody put us on this earth. And one day you have to go and account for your life here. So somewhere along the line, I got myself involved seriously in church activities. I remember when I became a dean, a colleague walked into my office and said, now that you are climbing up, you have to leave some of these religious things. And when he left, I said, this man is a bad friend. If I was doing those things and I go up, why don't I continue to do them more? I will say because I'm a dean, I will stop worshiping God. And the deanship is not forever. You finish the term, will you go back and now start worshiping God? So I just ignore him and I continue. I was surprised last year when the seminarians from St. Victor Major Seminary in Tamale, they came to me and said that professors normally don't do church things, but I'm still doing it. Why? And I told them I don't want to be like the foolish farmer who said, I have a lot, I'll break down my barn and blah, 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 blah. Because one day you will leave and you won't go with your certificates, you pack them somewhere. The things Madam talk about, I will say I have the same experience working. And today, there are so many challenges in management in Ghana and the world over. But in Ghana in particular, we have our peculiar system. Once you are at the top there, everybody wants you to do something. It becomes very, very difficult. But you have to balance it. As I said, I always try to do the right thing, whether you are working or not. If I'm supervising you and you are not working, I'll tell you are not working. I will not hide behind and go and gossip. I will tell you in the face. If you change, fine. If you don't, then you know that I know you are not working. There are so many other things. Right now, I serve on 4 major boards that I have to attend board meetings. It is this Corona area that has kept me at home. Maybe Apostle couldn't have found me to be on this panel today because I'm always group trotting or sort of a sort, and I'm doing my work. So, well, I don't know. I may have to stop here, and when the questions come, I'll answer them. But I think it's by His grace and also trying to do what you have been given to do and doing it well. That brought me to where I am today. So I'm ready. If you want me to go backwards, I'll tell you some of the stories. My background is not anything so bright. A poor village boy, parents never been to school, getting to this level. So I would like to end here and answer any question. Thank you.
All right, great. Prof, thank you very, very much. There's no doubt I've always known Prof to be a very hard-working those days, and I'm not surprised with what God is doing. And so, those of us young people who are unable to stay hard at one place, working very hard at one place, we have lessons to learn. Sometimes I'm amazed how people change jobs almost every year. The slightest challenge, they move. The slightest challenge, they move. But that is not how we build our life. All right, I've already got indication that some have questions. And so let's take, first of all, Priscilla. Priscilla says she has a question. So we would listen to Priscilla's question. Whoever it is directed to, then they will respond. Priscilla.
Thank you very much, Apostle. And I'm so much blessed to this moment to be a part of this call. My question goes to Auntie Gifty. And I'm so glad that when you were talking, you mentioned that God has blessed you with so much children. And today, by force, you'd have to add me to your children. I find myself resonating so much with all the truths that you're talking about, the principles and all that. But there's something that's really, really interests me and I want to know. Coming from a Pentecost background, married to an apostle, you started from somewhere and now you are where you are. Most times, even there was a time that a friend of mine said that he was actually going out with someone, and then the lady was like, hey, me too, all these things that I'm trying to pursue, these learning that I'm doing, what if they transfer you to some village? What am I going to do with all those things? I should just stop and go and do some liquid soap and some beads so that when I get there, I can get something to do. And so it's almost like if you are in the Church of Pentecost and you are married to a minister, on quotes, you cannot be ambitious. It's either you're a teacher, like, no, I'm not downgrading these professions, but then it's either you're a teacher or let's say a nurse or something, but you cannot be outside doing the kind of things that you are doing. So I want to ask, how did you manage all that? Were you not sent to any village? How did you manage all those things? How did you get to where you are right now? And what advice would you give to a younger self in me this moment? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I think that liquid soap and the beads, I have also learned them. Why not how to do that alongside? By all means, you have to learn those things, you know. But anyway, that's just by the way. And yeah, that question comes up always. That question comes along all the time. And I think, like I said, you have to know what God has called you to be. Indeed, I know many other ministers' wives who were also, you know, like in jobs like this, and they felt God asking them to stop, you know, so that they can, they can do full-time ministry. I have a massive respect for those people. I mean, each and every one of us, I mean, there is a call upon our life, and it's not the same. But for me, I think that right from the word when we entered into ministry, there was every indication God wanted to. I mean, I will not be able to give you, maybe now that you have become one of the kids, we can talk behind the scene, but I mean, there's so much evidence that God wanted me to keep going. Our first station, our area head said, Gifty, I know that even at that time I was contemplating. No, let me share with you. Now I was working in World Vision when the ministry, when the call came. Like you were saying, in Pentecost, in the Church of Pentecost, a minister's wife cannot work, you know, and whilst you do this. So as soon as the call came, I went to the boss at the office, and I said to my boss that, okay, so this is what has happened. And so as soon as my husband finishes Bible school, I'm going to resign. And my boss was like, well, again, you know, it's like, he just couldn't let me go because the kind of things I was doing. So he was like, why are you saying you have to stop work? And I said, oh, in my church, you can't, you know, because I don't even know where it will be transferred to. I have no idea. So my boss, I'm sitting in my boss's office and we're having this conversation. And he goes like, okay, so he scans his mind through all the regions. And he picks one region where World Vision does not have a presence. Okay, World Vision doesn't have a presence. So he goes like, and this is Mr. Nekwe of blessed memory. I mean, that man was awesome. And he goes like, okay, so let's assume that they transfer your husband to Volta region. But that was a place that World Vision didn't have a presence. So let's assume that they transfer it to a place like Volta region. Even if you are transferred to Volta region, you don't have to resign. We will create a project. I mean, and this is my CEO telling me that at that time. And I just laughed in my mind. And I said, this man, you don't know what you're talking about. It's not about creating a project for me. It's not about, you know, so we had a conversation and we went. Lo and behold, the postings came. My husband had been posted to Volta region, to be specific. And, you know, so I went to him and I said, okay, so we have been transferred to Volta region, so I'll be tendering my resignation. And he says, you aren't going to do anything like that. And the Germans have written to us and they want a project specifically in Kitekrachi. Krachi East, we were transferred to Krachi West, but then Krachi East done by, they want a project there. So Gifty, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go and start that project. And I was like, okay, so okay, that's fine. So we go and we speak to our area head, and our area head said, I mean, they even want some of the projects here. So you can make sure that you are just, you know, you are just balancing it well. Cut long story short, I had the support of my area head. I had the support of my boss. So anytime church needed me, and I will go and do work. I mean, I will go and do work, do all the work, and then I'll go to my station and do all the work that I needed to do, you know. And then, okay, so we were there, and you know, we didn't keep long there. We didn't keep long there at all. And I think after one and a half years, 2 years, we're being transferred. And in you know, our transfers, Pentecostal transfers come in May thereabout. So this several months before May, we go for a spiritual retreat. My boss sees me and says, "Oh, Gifty, oh, you are still, how is Ketekraja? How's the place doing? How's everything? And I'm thinking of bringing you to Central Region. I'm thinking of bringing you to Central Region because the manager there, I want to move the manager to another place." And I'm like, and there was another boss standing by and said, "Hey, guys, or Gifty, if you keep moving here like that, Church of Pentecost will fight with you." And then we laugh over it. May comes, they go for council meeting. My husband is transferred to Cape Coast. So it was like, you know, it just goes. So like I'm saying, I cannot take you through all of it, but God has somehow, you know, every time he has made a way. And that's what I'm saying. Everybody and the calling and how God has called us. And for each time I have had the support of the head and my supervisor. So it has worked beautifully. And I have also allowed the ministries to suffer. I have not allowed the work to suffer. And again, this is not by my own doing. This is by the Holy Spirit. So get to know what it is that God wants you to do, my girl. Get to know what it is that God wants to do. What is the calling? Is God calling you to full time? There are people who are called like that. And I will not dispute that. And that is great. It is awesome. Leave it. Go full time. There are also people who God wants to be here and be there, to be a face here and be a face there. Also, when that is your calling, go for it. God will lead you. God will give you grace. He will give you mercy. He will give you the favor, and you'll be able to do. So that's been my story. I remember one of my mentees looked at me and was like, "Hey, you, the way things are going for you, I think you are a very righteous person." And I'm in my head, I'm like, "You don't know what it is. It's just the favor and the grace of God, and just, you know, walking in the will of God for your life." It's been like that each step of the way. Everywhere my husband has gone, it's been like that, you know. And so I think it's just purely by grace, and coupled with some of the things that I already shared. In Church of Pentecost, really, I mean, I'm not the only minister's wife who's working. I'm not the only area wife who is working. And it's not, yeah, majority of them are nurses and teachers, but there are other people also. I know a minister's wife who's a doctor. She's a medical officer, I know. And so it's just about how you're balancing it. But what I want to say to people is also that, you know, sometimes there are people who, I mean, I know people are teachers, and they will abandon the ministry. They will go, they are living far away. They don't go for women's ministry. They don't do anything. They just left their husband. That is also not God glorifying. You cannot do that. Even if you were not in ministry, okay? I mean, the two shall become one. You cannot abandon your husband. So if that is also becomes an issue, then you would have to grapple with that. You need to be able to strike a proper balance, in which case none of them is suffering. Hello? Hello, Priscilla.
Hello.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe my line was off because the place is quiet.
I think Apostle's line has gone silent. But
Oh, okay.
what is it that enabled you to beat all the challenges that you were confronted with? What is it that made you all the various hurdles? Because to become a vice chancellor of such a big university, I know that there'll be all kinds of considerations. What made you able to be that? And having become the vice chancellor, are you facing those challenges still? And if you do, what has made you beat the storm? Is the question clear?
Well, I got a question from the middle. In the beginning, your mic was off, so I didn't.
Yeah, the mic. I think the net.
I think I got to you. So, what are the challenges as a vice chancellor?
I'm saying that. Let me go over. I think the line went on. The question is that we know that the position of a vice chancellor is a very powerful one, and normally it says that there are political considerations. Yeah. Sometimes there are tribal considerations. Then are you from the north or you're not from the north? All those things. What is it that will enable somebody like you beat all those considerations and still become a vice chancellor, so that somebody will not think that, hey, I need to, go behind the scenes to be able to get there, but somebody has been able to achieve it. What is it that made you capable of beating that stiff competition when it comes to the position of a vice chancellor of a university?
I think it's by His grace. It's by the grace of God, because all those things that you've mentioned happened politically. I remember somebody walking. You don't forget that I was the pro vice chancellor before I became the vice chancellor. Yeah. So it's somebody walking into the office and told me, if you want to go up to that position, you must get party so and so's card. And I told him I will not do it. I didn't use the word over my dead body, because if you say that, they may kill you. So I told him never. If that, because of that, I won't get a position, forget it. If the position, my motivation is that if it is mine by God's grace, I will get it. If God says you will go to this position, you will get it. So finally it happened. The cards were prayed. They prayed the party cards, prayed the tribal cards, and it was somewhere behind the scene. I didn't know until after everything that I got to know things were happening. Then I got into the hot seat, and you had some knowledge about UDS. The infrastructure is not there, money is not there. It is not like your so-called nice university you were talking about mentioning. So you have to be confronted with all these challenges. You were aware that we used to have 4 campuses: Tamale, Nyankwala, Navrongo, and Wa. One of the biggest challenges I had is there was a political decision to take Wa and Navrongo away, which finally happened this year. So now Wa and Navrongo are 2 new universities out of UDS. It was a tough issue trying to tell the politicians, no, don't do it. Well, we need to be together to grow. But finally, they have done it because they have to do it. And there are a whole lot of challenges. But apart from that, you have people you're working with that you give a position. Madam was talking of delegation. You delegate somebody to do something for you, and at the end, you get a negative result. Well, you assume the person is working, you do, and the result, they will show you something, but behind the scenes, something is going on, which somebody will say, like, if I have the second chance, I will never make that mistake again. But it is over. People you trust so well, before you realize, perhaps either they want to be as where you are, so do something to cut him off and get in there. And a whole lot of, but as I said, I always rely on the grace of God. I always pray and say that let thy will be done. In fact, I don't carry any problem beyond the day, every day, and this own problem. I use the principle of not worrying about tomorrow. Don't waste energy on tomorrow. And the good book says tomorrow will take care of itself. So why do you worry? Your worry about tomorrow will not change anything. Try to solve the problem today. Use your energy on today. And then also identify those who will work with you, no matter the consequence. Whether you are giving them something they are benefiting materially or whatever, they are prepared to carry on with you. identify them and keep going. Those who want to stand in your way, if you can maneuver and go behind them and continue with the work, you do it, and you do the work as. So far, so good. That's what I've been doing, and I pretty well. I'm carrying on. Your mic is off, Apostle. Again, off. There's a hand up there. Somebody with a mini, pro mini.
All right, Decent, can you hear me, Decent?
Thank you very much, Apostle. And
we'll take Decent. After that, we'll take Isaiah and we'll continue. Yeah, right. Go ahead, Decent.
I have a question for each speaker. Ms. Gifty Appiah, you were quoted in Ghana News Agency saying children cannot their greatness when they are in shackles of poverty.
Children cannot what?
Children cannot attain their greatness when they are in shackles of poverty. That was last year. And you worked at the UN and World Vision. So now my question to you is, what has been your plan to eradicate poverty that Africa is currently facing? And Professor Gabriel Teye, you were also quoted in HBS executive edition saying, I advise the youth to learn the virtues of hard work and humility, take advice from superiors. So I agree that you are one of the superiors. My question to you is, you financed your first degree by doing farming. Currently, farming is, especially in South Africa, is something that is not taken serious. What advice can you give to young people regarding education? Thank you.
All right, so that is Decent all the way from Johannesburg. Prof and Gifty, I don't know whether are the questions clear?
The tail end of my question wasn't clear. I said something about farming or something.
Yeah, he says that I think he's done a lot of research about both of you because he keeps quoting the things that you guys have said, even as of last year. And I think from his research, he's gotten some information that you have something to do with farming or something.
Yes.
And he's saying that in South Africa, most of the young people seem not to be interested in farming. So how are you able to combine with all your excellence and still go into farming? And what advice will you give to the youth? Did I get you? Is that right?
Yes.
All right. And then she also quoted Gifty, some statement you made about children. So, all right, maybe let's take Gifty first.
Okay.
Briefly, and then we'll take a Prof too.
All right, wonderful. Vincent, thank you very much. You quoted me saying children cannot develop when they are within the shackles of poverty. And you were wanting to find out from me what has been my role in eradicating poverty. Is that the question?
Yeah, what is your plan in eradicating the poverty?
My challenge.
Okay, yes, what is your challenge?
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So I think I'll be very brief on this. You know, poverty has several definitions depending on who is defining. I mean, and one of the definitions that I'm in love with recently is that poverty is the absence of choice. The absence of choice. And so you find in Africa that people are in situations where the choices that they can make are so limited. Okay, and so the absence of choice in itself for people becomes a great stumbling block. And then when that happens also, people come into a certain mindset that this is where we are, this is what is forever going to be. And so you find poverty in emotional cycles. So until we are able to break free from all these challenges, it will be very difficult for us to eradicate poverty. And that is what you find people who are giving birth to children on streets, those children end up also giving birth to other children on the street. It becomes a cycle, because in their mindset, there are no choices. But if those people are to be opened and exposed to the choices around them, that is why somebody can come from, I mean, I think Prof was share about, but he was saying when he was finishing his delivery, he was saying that he has come from, you know, very, very remote places. If we are able to break free from that, then the options are limitless and people are able to release themselves. So I think one of the greatest challenges is the lack of options available to our folks, and also the mindset with which people approach life. And they think that this is all there is, there isn't anything more. We could give a lot of examples, but I think time may not be on our side, but just let it suffice that absence of choices and then mindsets, certain mindsets go against our ability to break free from poverty.
All right, I've seen that 2 hands are up again, but I'll give you a chance. So, Marian, I've seen your hand. Don't worry, I'll call you very soon. And Isaiah, but can we have Prof respond to
Decent in South Africa? Thank you for the question. As I said, I came from a farming background. My parents were farmers. They've never been to school, but they managed to send all of us to school. By your grace, I came up to this point. So those days, up to the end of my first degree, when we are on holidays, I go back to the village. I have no uncle in the city or somebody in the city to go and be hanging around. So I go back to the village and do what my parents were doing at that time. But I started doing it with a scientific outlook of it. From my secondary school, I know that you can apply fertilizer to crops and they will produce better than what they were doing. So I started doing this with vegetables. And in the whole village, it was like I'm bringing some magic into farming. So people were running after the tomato seed I was using to grow the tomato for my mom. And in fact, that's how I financed my education. I never wrote letter home for anybody to send me money. Of course, there was no more money at that time. So I have to depend on my own family. Unfortunately, now, because of where I am and far away from where the land is available, now if you have to farm, you have to go to somebody's land. The time is not even there for me to do it. But those who are in the situation of which I was at then, and they are refusing to farm, then I don't know what they are looking for. So you have to go through the mill. If you are in the village and you don't farm, I don't see what you are doing in the village. And why should you come to the city to look for a job which does not exist when you can be in the village and farm? You farm and feed yourself and sell the rest. But you come to the city, you cannot even feed yourself, and you don't even have money to buy the food which are on the street. So you complain. And so this is my life towards that farming, and I wish I could do it, but maybe after I retire, I'll go back to the land and farm. The youth, those who have I've been saying that if you have the land, you inherit a large tract of land, and you have this agri technology. Now you can even Google and see what to do, how to grow the crops. Unlike those days, why do you shy away from doing it? Everybody, medical doctors, I know from medical doctors who are chief farmers in Ghana. With all their medicine, they've gone back to the farm. They have a lot of farm. One is exporting banana to Burkina Faso, and they are bringing it back to Ghana because we like to eat imported products. And he's a regional best farmer, and he's a medical doctor. So farming is something that will encourage the youth who have the resources to go into. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Prof. Wow, the time is really going and hands are still coming up. So try and make your questions snappy. Isaiah, I will take yours, and after that, Miriam will come. So Isaiah.
Okay, thank you very much, Apostle Daddy, for the opportunity. My first question goes to Auntie Gifty.
It means you have 2 questions.
Yes. Thank you very much, Auntie Gifty, for saying you have a lot of children. Don't worry, you get more of them. Okay, my question is, in your youthful age, what was some of your challenges and how did you rise through? What was the lowest moments of your life, be it in background, academic-wise, job-wise, and how did you rise through it? with the grace of God. And also the second question goes to Prof. Talking about coming from a family of illiteracy, I think you've given a brief description about how it was. But in terms of education, I believe illiteracy, your parents wouldn't understand much of education. How did you sort through like everything? And whilst you were talking to, I realized that in all the positions that you had, some were supposed to be 6 years, it came in 3 years, in 4 years. What is the secret aside the grace of God and hard work? Thank you.
All right, maybe what we can do is that let's take Marianne's question too, so that you can put all the two together. All right, Marianne, let's take yours.
Thank you very much, Apostle. Fortunately, Isaiah has asked one of my questions, so I have only one more question. I want to know what your source of motivation has been for both Auntie Gifty and Apostle.
Prof, right?
Yeah. Yes, please.
You want to know the sorry?
Their source of motivation. Because
all right, so Prof and Gifty, he wants to know what is the Marian, your line keeps breaking, so I'm not sure. Did you ask, you want to know their source of motivation?
I think that's the end of the questions you was asking.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we have two questions. Whichever you want to handle first, that's fine. So, Prof, let's take yours, and then Auntie Gifty will also respond to hers.
Well, hello. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, Prof.
As I said from the beginning, my motivation is to achieve, just to perform the task I'm given. And I remember yesterday my colleagues were reminding me that they used to call me professor when we were doing our first degree, just because they said I was studying too much and I will become a professor. So the very day I became an ASO prof, I sent messages to those I had their contact that is now official, I'm a professor. Well, it's just because of the seriousness attached to whatever task I'm assigned to do. And as I said, how do you call it? As I was asking, what's the secret behind moving on in the short time? It is perhaps because of the way I was working. Somebody will say, okay, the next position should be you. You are identified already as the successor of the one who is there. But I must say here, honestly, I've never lobbied for any of those positions. To go behind the scene and go and tell somebody, I would like to be in this position next time, help me to get to that position. Truly, I've never lobbied. People rather come to me and say, look, when this person there leaves, you are the one who will go there. And I ask them why. And it's like they've seen that the way you are working, you should be able to either do better than what is going on now or similar to what is going on. So that's what has been the motivation, because to achieve, to do what is expected of you. He was asking about coming from the uneducated background or a home where, yes, as I said, my parents sent all of us to school, and then again with encouragement, the teacher would tell, oh yeah, you are a brilliant child, you have to go to secondary school. And he took me around to go to the secondary school because the teacher said I'm a brilliant child, I should go to secondary school. I told my father I'm going. And it's like, where are you going? Where is the secondary school? I said the teacher would show me where it is. So again, right from the beginning, I listened to my mentors, and somebody sees something in you and try to help you to achieve it. Give it a try. Don't just say, no, that's not what I'm taking of. And at every chance, take the opportunity that comes your way. If it's a good one, you will succeed.
At every time, take the opportunity that comes to you. I think that I'm so happy with some of the things I'm hearing. Hard work really pays, isn't it? It looks like nowadays people want fast food, fast connection, fast everything, fast. So the need to work hard, even when you have not been supervised, it's not there. There's always we're living by the perception that, okay, if I'm not, I mean, it's a general saying that people only do what you expect, not what you expect. But I think that with what Prof and Madam is saying, sometimes you don't only have to do things people will expect, but you should have the motivation to do things and do them well. Gifty said, 0 tolerance for mediocrity. And Prof is saying that his motivation.
Apostle, let me ask you, when we met here in 96, did I look like somebody who became a vice chancellor? It never crossed my mind. If you were to tell me that time, I will tell you your prophecy will fail.
Yeah, if anybody has prophesied.
There was nothing like that.
That's true.
But with time, after how many years? 18 years, getting to it happened. So the opportunities are there, and if you keep climbing the ladder and climb it well, we were so many. All like the colleagues. You remember we were 10 who came for the
yes, yeah,
yes, and most of them are still around. It's only one who passed away this year, but the rest are all around. So that's how it is.
How I wish all Africans, Ghanaians will see the value of hard work. And as I said, Prof, when I was there with Prof, oh my goodness, this man can really work hard. What? I mean, you go to the meet session and he's working hard. I think God would always reward our hard work. So young people, old men, people in ministries, people at various governmental departments, he said he never lobbied. I mean, if you work hard, God himself will back you. God himself will support you and grant you grace. So please, let's take practical, useful lessons from these things. Gifty, let's also get your response. My time is almost coming to an end. Every time when it's getting exciting, the time, we've just gotten about 5 minutes to go. So let's take Gifty's response. And then those of you who couldn't ask your questions, please don't worry. Next week, we'll see how we take it out from there. All right, Gifty, please.
Right. Yeah, so motivation, I'll just give it in bullets. Motivation, I want to make a difference. I want to make an impact. I want to serve my generation. And so that's motivation. Do it and do it well. And then someone was asking about some challenges that I faced as a youth. It's been so long. It's been so long a time that, but one of them that I remember very well is when I finished, we will do 1 to Form 5, from Form 1 to Form 5, and then Form 5, sixth form, lower 6, upper 6, and then you go to university and all of that. Yeah. When I did my my Form 5, I went to Gabriel Girls, one of the best schools in the world.
Oh yeah.
I was a science student. My parents wanted me so badly to become a doctor, so badly. My parents wanted me to become a doctor. I also wanted to become a doctor, so I read science, but only God knows how I struggled with the science. I really struggled. And so, but I made it. I made it in 4 or 5. I could have gone back and read science, but I did know that, look, if you read the science, you will so struggle. So why don't you rather divert and do arts, which you are doing well? And if I was going that, I was not going to be able to go back to Gabriel Girls. That was a big challenge because all my friends were everything. But I just, I just took advice, like Prof was saying. I just took advice, and so I left Gabriel Girls and I went to Acquah Secondary School. There were a lot of challenges, but with diligence, hard work, I did so well at the sixth form. And that was my fear, that if I went to Acquah, I wasn't going to be able to do well, but I did so well, and I went to university, and by the grace of God, I got admission into planning. And so the challenge really was not being able to do what your parents want you to do, what you have struggled to do, and all of that, and sometimes at that point you think that you have been a failure, you have been a disappointment, but I think you keep focused, you listen to advice, you commit your ways into the hands of God. In the midst of all of that, God is still able to redirect you. And I think for me, everything that I have been, by the grace of God, also started from going to the Department of Planning, reading planning, and then and finishing in that course. That has been a blessing. And so it's a challenge at that time, but now now it has been a blessing. So that's what I can share.
Wow, every challenge is an opportunity. When Prof was speaking, he was saying that but for COVID-19, it would by now we've been a board meeting. And so even COVID has allowed us to get Prof.
Exactly. COVID has a lot of opportunities.
And so we must look for opportunities in even challenges. Even in darkness, you can find opportunities. It is in darkness that certain animals come out and certain opportunities come there. So let us not give up in life. Let us not just throw our hands in despair. I've seen that Joseph Walker, hand is up. Maybe I'll give him just the last one. I have only a few minutes left. I've taken a lot of Prof Gifty's time, and I want to keep to the time. So we'll take just one question, and then after that, we'll take their 30 seconds remarks, just short counsel that they want to give to all of us. Thank you so much, all of you, for the questions and this. Unfortunately, we cannot take all of them. So Joseph, if you can hear me, let's quickly have your question. I think your mic is off. I can't see your mic. Joseph, are you fine? If not, then I'll do you like Trump. I'll go to the next person. All right. I think Joseph is having a challenge connecting. Our time, unfortunately, is up. Prof and Auntie Gifty, maybe your last word, statement or two that you want to encourage the people with. Just any last word. So let's take Gifty first, and then Prof will summarize it for us.
I would like to say thank you, Apostle, for the opportunity. It's always a blessing when you have opportunity like this to share and kind of impart knowledge and wisdom so I thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to everyone who has been part of this blessed session. I think my final words: nothing in life comes without challenge. In life, I think in my own experience, maturity and growth, transformation and growth and maturity cannot come without challenge. It is in the challenges that we grow. It is in the challenges that we mature. It's the challenges that we see the hand of God. It's in the challenges that we get our testimony. So let us not be afraid of challenges. They are part of life. They have been here, they are here, and they will continue to be with us. But what I've learned is how I react and how I respond to the challenge. Whether I succeed or not, it's not so dependent on the challenge, but it is in the manner in which I respond to the challenge. I pray for all of us that God will grant us grace, that we are able to respond rightfully to the challenge that come our way, so that we'll be able to go there. Amen.
Thank you, Auntie Gifty. Prof?
Well, I also say thank you for bringing me on today's, and just to tell as well the young ones that life is not a straight curve. It doesn't begin from one end and go straight to another end. It's, so if you may call it a zigzag, winding. You may go to almost getting to the peak, and if you are not careful, you come down and then you go up. But our Gifty was talking of changing from science to arts. I wanted to be an engineer, and finally I became an agriculturalist, and here I am an administrator. So life is not a straight curve. You want to go straight and get to the point, and it takes time. It takes years to do it. You can't do it in a day. The question I asked, if you can achieve all in a day, what will you do with the rest of the days on earth? You become, so the young ones should know that it will take them some time to get there. And work, and you'll get there by His grace. Thank you.
Lovely. For those of you who joined in late, we've had a wonderful time with our dear Auntie Gifty Dansua Appiah, the current country director for Compassion International Ghana. And she's also a mother with many children, as you said. And we've had a lovely time with the experience. You can still keep connecting with her. I believe if you want to have any conversation, we'll find a way of making you connect to her. We will see it anyway. And then to my own prof, Professor Gabriel Teye, Ayum Teye, the Vice Chancellor for University for Development Studies. We are so grateful. Thank you so much. I knew it was very difficult to get you, but you still squeeze time. It will take you 1.5 hours of your time. That is not easy. And we are most grateful. Friends on social media, those of you who joined via Zoom, we are most grateful for your presence. We have been looking at contending with various challenges, whether they are negative or whether they are inspirational, whether as certain challenges that will have to rather cause you to stretch. Whatever it is, we've learned that through hard work, searching for excellence, looking at ensuring that you do the best you can, whether people are watching or not, trying to make the most of the opportunity, planning your life, delegating, and being self-inspired yourself, wanting to achieve something for God, for country, for family, wanting to make a name for God and for the people that have trusted you, the people that have had confidence in you. We are praying that the gracious hand of the Lord will be upon each and every one of us. And we trust that God will be with all of us. We want to pray and ask that God will bless each and every one of you. We want to pray that the hand of God be mighty upon you. We want to pray that the grace of God will come strongly upon you. We want to pray that opportunities will be open to you. And if you're struggling through a particular challenge and you're even thinking of giving up, if you're going through a particular challenge and you're thinking of throwing in the towel or even possibly committing suicide or giving up, we have learned that with hard work, perseverance, faith in God, eventually you will go through. So may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord watch over you. Once again, Mama Gifty and Prof, we are most grateful. I believe that, Prof, I know you are very tight, but by all means, you have to squeeze some 30 seconds of your time for us again. And Auntie Gifty, by all means, you come one day, it will not end, and I believe we can have a good time. God richly bless you, and bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I missed most of it, but I hope you have enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I saw a message.
I missed most of it, but the last bit was so good. I think Gifty, I guess, got part of it. All right, especially when these challenges bring maturity and growth. And, I mean, that's quite good. Anyway, thank you.
God bless you, sir.